Hey everybody, Pepper Coyote here, probably ripping off some other YouTuber's intro.
Coyotes might be going to the playoffs. I mean, at least they haven't been mathematically eliminated yet.
If you ask a random person on the street what their favorite kind of music is, they're probably going to walk away from you quickly because that's a weird thing to do. Alternatively, they might give you the popular stock answer of, I like everything but rap and country, and frankly, well, that sucks. I mean, like, I get it. If your only exposure to that kind of music is the top 40 radio dial, you probably have a warped idea of what those genres even are. All right, I'm gonna save rap for another time, but let's talk country, or specifically, my favorite subgenre, alt country. Alt country is country music for people who don't like country, or in my case, maybe people who like the old stuff, but this new stuff, I am the oldest young man in America. It doesn't have the over-the-top accents, it's generally down-to-earth lyrically, and for me, alt country captures the earnest American songwriting that epitomizes the best of the country genre in the first place. In fact, to me, alt country isn't the alt, it's the true country, and I think that this got it going on like Donkey Kong. Should be called something like pop country or new country or some, look at my axe and how I grind it. Dawes will help me make my points here, so let's jump right. I gotta come up with my own freaking catchphrase. Let's try this one. Bring up the face. Started in 2009 and first heard by me in passing from an amusement park speaker designed to look like a rock hidden in a bush, Dawes is best known for their hit, When My Time Comes, which is fine, but this is the album I really want to talk about today. I've been gorging myself on this for the better part of a month and I need to go off about it. We open up with likely my favorite track, Just Beneath the Surface. We're immediately greeted by vocal woes and a snare drum tapping out. So yeah, we're in country town. But what is Taylor Goldsmith singing about? Have you ever thought your little girl glamour shots and the events of that whole day spent at the mall is maybe a part of you you didn't know you were clinging to? As if that's where the secret had taken its hold most of all. Like a feather that finds its invisible path as it falls. Alright, geez. So on the first song, the first verse of this album, we're talking about introspection, the conscious and the subconscious mind, and all based on the device of a completely relatable experience, getting baby pictures taken at the mall. This album talks a lot about the idea of the true self, and we get out the gate hot. These ideas are lifted along by a chorus that flips from country to an island-style chord progression and bass line that makes me think of like Jimmy Buffett, but with the vocal harmonies of Eagles. How does this sound so natural? All right, next song before I spend an hour gushing over track 1. Guess what? Track 2 is also a bittersweet inner monologue tied together by a relatable situation. Air travel. And I think maybe he's in town for someone's birthday. Or maybe he makes trouble everywhere. But as much as he resists the conversation between the rivers and the freeways, he knows it's always there. From a window seat flips between describing the airplane boarding process in literal terms, musing on the singer's own life, and people watching. Almost every line in this thing is golden. Because when you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. This break is one of the most country songs on the album. It has all the good stuff. Plucky electric rockabilly guitar that, woohoo, those arpeggios. The bass is doing a good old 1-5-1 and they're harmonizing all over the place. This was the track that got me to pay attention to alt country to begin with, and I consider it an approachable entry point. Maybe the issue I have with pop country is the feeling I get in the back of my head that it's entirely superficial and phony in some way. The lyrics talk about a mythical world of trucks, ladies, and hoedowns that don't seem real. A heightened, stylized reality, if you would, but without the self-awareness required to connect with me. Alt country bands are usually grounded in current reality in the same way greats like Johnny Cash were grounded in the reality of the 50s and 60s. I believe that a hallmark of a good country or folk singer is to be believable, and I just do not believe Trace Atkins or big and rich when they sing. The connection isn't there because the lyrics are vapid and the delivery unconvincing, in my opinion. In the alt-country world, they're writing about today, not a half-remembered past that may or may not have ever actually existed. When Dawes literally mentions Google, it doesn't come across as a pop culture reference or a soured attempt to seem cool, but rather a grounding in reality that most of us can relate to. From here, Stories Don't End does a great job of being an album. The tracks gel musically in some satisfying ways. It's paced excellently with the upbeat electric guitar numbers broken up by some good old-fashioned sad songs and waltzes. Let me hit you with a blitz here, lightning round! Track 3, Just My Luck. The sadness begins, but it manages to be 4 minutes without seeming to drag. I blame the absolutely choice melodic turns. Track 4, Someone Will. Did you doubt the countryness of this album? Every time you start to forget, they'll remind you with something like this, and even then they manage to get a beat flippin' clop going on the snare drum. Track 5, Most People. Okay, I gotta say a little bit about the message of this song because it's either overly simple or surprisingly deep. I'm going for deep. And she thinks most people don't talk enough about how lucky they are. Most people don't know what it takes for me to get through the day. Most people don't talk enough about the love in their hearts. But she doesn't know most people feel that same way. See, that's the thesis of the song. And it's not an uncommon one, the whole, like, count your blessings thing, but the older I get, the more, no. If anything, most people excuse the crappiness of their situation because the other option is just, like, wallow in it. People get used to absolutely abysmal life conditions, and I think that, yeah, but it could be worse, so be thankful, is the wrong message to take from life's hardships. However, I think the entire theme gets flipped with the last line of the chorus, but she doesn't know most people think that same way. I take that as a repudiation of the surface meaning here. Things are bad for most of us, and if we talked a bit more, we'd find a more common ground. We'd work towards improving. Okay, I will not make this one about socialism. I'm sorry, I promise. Track 6, Something in Common. Do you like good chord changes? This song has them. It's also an excellent song to listen to while crying. Track 7, Hey Lover. There are 2 swear words in this song and both make me laugh. An excellent palate cleanser after a pretty emotionally heavy first half. Track 8, Bear Witness. This one kind of vamps more than necessary. Could have been trimmed to 2 minutes 30 or cut entirely. Track 9, Stories Don't End. This one absolutely earned the title song slot with thoughtful lyrics and melodic turns that I can only describe as spine-tingling. Here, look, it's not hard to impress me. See, you expect to hear this. 'Cause if you're telling a story, at some point you stop, but stories don't end. And you instead hear this. 'Cause if you're telling a story, at some point you stop, but stories don't end. That's all it takes, guys. Notice how those 3 notes are spaced out and nearly alone in the instrumentation, so you know it was on purpose. Stories don't end. It's like a cliffhanger. It's like a Netflix cliffhanger. You gotta click to the next note. Hurry, what happens? Plus, we have it changing from a 6 feel to a 3 feel, and yes, there's a difference. Good song, would cry again. Track 10, From the Right Angle. At this point, you start recognizing tiny melody fragments. Let me pay for your next drink, and this song sounds just like Let Me Hold Your Hand from most people. Here, let me show you. Let me hold your hand. Let me pay for your next drink. You could chalk this up to lack of creativity, or you could be like me and choose to believe that it was intentional, which is kind of brilliant. To be able to take a handful of notes and unify an hour of music, a musical through line, that takes a little genius. This is also a heckin' good driving song. Track 11, Side Effects. See, this thing has it too. Do you see this? It's not like the songs are the same really, but they share this little melodic thing. Not big enough to be a theme or anything, but it's there. Like oregano in Italian cooking. It's a unifying spice, keeping the album together. Track 12, Just Beneath the Surface Reprise. If you listen to this album, and if, like mine does, your player automatically starts it over once it's done, it genuinely feels like the album has a loop. The last track leads into the first on an album called Stories Don't End? Ooh, who can I give this Good Girl award to, because I am impressed. If I were to distill the vibe of this album into a sentence, I'd call it A musical and lyrical representation of the thoughts you push out in art to keep yourself sane. Sitting in the dark, listening to this thing, and letting your emotions drain. It's a good dark swim in your own head and absolutely worth every teardrop. Yeah, alt country, alt folk and such. It's good people. Just like the people scrolling by right now. These are my patrons. They help me pay my rent and help videos like this exist. Join them at patreon.com/peppercoyote, but if you don't want to make that kind of commitment, you can always go to paypal.me/peppercoyote and give me $1. Send that dollar. That's my real new catchphrase. Send that dollar. Yes, I do have a lot of different Coyote hats, because like for the first time in a long time, the Coyotes are not yet mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, and we're getting into it, yo. If we don't just suddenly start being real bad, we might keep this train going straight into a first round playoff exit. Time for me to sing some names incorrectly. All right, we rolling. We got Petrov, Neutrino, and Ali Kuja, Annex the Fox and Pony Sharp. We got Dark Doggo and Halcyon, Justin Williams, Strevel, and Glisson and Cheesy Feline, Blade of Mexican Wolf. Musical Husky, Blue-Gray Fox, and Zombie Squirrel. Then we got Grace Jane Gollinger, followed by an unknown furry and Monty Contrite. Got Ruth and Ruby Redmayne, the Armored Wolf. Fuzz Wolf, Vermi Fox and Gummy Bjorn. Tommy Crash, beating Syphidius and Shell Music FX. Jared Hensey, aka Leonardo Lynx. Willie Draggett Show and Omega Dragon, Silver Gatomon and Mama T. Can I get that harmonic? God,